welcome back to another episode of Chatting with your girl, Nala Nishari. And we're here to talk about generational shifts and having the real conversations that matter. Real talk from real people with real perspectives, y'all. And today, in terms of generational shifts, we're talking about behind the social, right? Who are we behind that social presence, and who else than the man himself, the icon?
Thanks. Oh, thanks,
Please, yo,
hey.
We got my mans up in here, and we live. So, give them a little spill, who you are, what you do,
yeah,
all
let's do
that.
it. So what's going on, everybody? First of all, Nala, I appreciate you for reaching out and having me on your show. So those of you who don't know me, Markese, right? Also known as Keese. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, right? I also have a podcast, Between the Lines podcast, where I'm the host.
Check it out.
Entrepreneurial. I'm a teacher by day. In addition to that, I'm also an entrepreneur, co-founder of GVO, clothing brand, the podcast, right? I also have a nonprofit organization in which we kind of give back in the community. In addition to that, just a lot of other, modeling stuff, entertainment stuff, and just kind of getting my feet wet. So just a lot of everything, to be quite honest. Literally
Everything. You're the
everything,
man
honestly.
with many trades. What do they call Jack of all trades?
Jack of all trades, right?
That's what he is,
Jack
man.
of all trades, right?
So we talking about social, we're talking about generational shifts. So how do you specifically, I feel like our generation definitely has to learn the balance.
Right.
But separating the social versus reality. Not like you're being two different people, but it also is two very different elements, especially when you're trying to be serious about your business.
Right.
So how do you navigate that?
So I feel like, first of all, that's a great question. I feel like the problem with social media is just trying to balance is that people are, we always get the saying of social media causes you to, trauma, mental health, and, just kind of all of these distractions. But it's really ultimately up to what you use social media for, right? I'm an individual who I'm never necessarily affected by social media, right? I'm not necessarily ever one of those that's saying, I got to take a break because I know what I'm going to bring to my social media platforms, right? Exactly. Right. It's a tool. So for me, I necessarily use my social media to kind of, explore who I am as a person, right? I'm not looking at nobody else. I'm not trying to mimic nobody else. I feel like a lot of people try to imitate and mimic and try to follow the trend.
No
and
originality.
When you do that, exactly. And when you do that, you're kind of going to find yourself in a battle between, who am I? And what am I trying to give the people? And then that's where you find yourself being a little overwhelmed, feeling like social media is not necessarily helping you or working to your benefit. So I just feel like, it's just really, what are you going to use it for? Right. Use it for positivity. Use it to help other people. Use it to kind of represent who you are as an individual. Right. And I think that's kind of how, that's where the disconnect comes from. Individuals who do kind of have a hard time balancing with who they are and kind of having this image on social media. You know what I'm saying?
And I think image is big. It's good. But to the same focal point, it can be distracting.
It can.
There are certain celebrities who have a certain image. So we don't even get the deep parts of them because they have to continue to pursue this, image as the gang perfect. Even minus the perfect, it's I'm getting paid to be this person. I can't be, or if I'm a community activist, it's low key. I feel like a lot of people, when Jill Scott sang her rendition of that song, I sat there and I was like, that is what it means to use your platform in a way where you are influencing people.
Absolutely.
In a way that matters. And I feel like social media is so easy to get caught up in the influence that doesn't matter.
Here's the thing with that, right? I feel like, and it's crazy because even on my podcast, I've spoken to a lot of influencers or people who have a good following on social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case may have you. And one of the questions that I ask them is how do you portray this perfect image? But outside of that, there's so much baggage that goes on, right? Because you have people that's looking forward to what you post. Right. You have people that's looking forward to your lifestyle, and you have to keep that image you're speaking about. Right. But in reality, there's so much more going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. So I always wanted to figure out how do they balance that. And to be quite honest, one of the things that they mentioned was just they don't. They just kind of forget about the reality of their situations, and they get stuck in that everyday, feel of getting on social media, posting, trying to, portray that image. But that kind of hinders you as well. Right. Because you're just trying to live up to everybody's expectations. Right. And you're pouring from an empty cup. And that's realistically probably the worst thing that you could really do.
Yeah.
I feel like, it's a very, hard thing to kind of battle and, maintain. But yeah, the image is everything. You know what I mean? The image part is just kind of living up to who you really are, like we kind of spoke about just now.
Yeah.
And I've never really had that issue because I'm always authentic. But I feel like that issue lies, and you could kind of correct me if I'm wrong because you're a woman. I feel like women are the one who have a lot more of those issues, right?
With
perception? Like the image, the perception, because it's tricky, right? You got to wake up, be pretty every day. You got to, it's a lot more.
But I think dudes do it in a way where it's like, dang, like I've had homeboys be like, dang, I can't approach this girl because I ain't got the money. I ain't got the chain. Like I ain't got the confident. Perception.
They're just not confident.
Well, he said you're just not a
You're
real
just
man.
not confident.
Thank you.
I'm not the flashiest guy, but to be quite honest, I feel like if given a fair chance, I could talk to any person that I want.
Right.
Right? Because I look good, I'm confident. Right. I don't have none of the jewelry. I'm not too flashy.
Right.
But I'm confident.
But I think it might just be a confidence thing all around. Because I think we women also too. When you feel like, okay, I gotta wear makeup every day, or I gotta dress this way, or I gotta make sure my titties is out so they can get a little sneak peek so they can talk to me, like that's a confidence thing. Cause like for me, I know, baby, I'm gonna wow you by my conversation. I don't care about my physicals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like respectfully. And I even say like with social media, using, my podcast is about the real conversations that matter, but using social media as a tool, like we connected through social media. You know what I'm saying? Like social media, it can be something that's, positive, something that creates business, all that kind of stuff. I spoke on it like back in one of my episodes. But even with the using it as an influencer and that generational shift, like sometimes, like I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I gotta post this because he's like, huh? What? Like,
Why?
Huh?
Why that? Why this?
Like if it's not TV, it's just like, well, what are you doing? But I've definitely seen you use your platform to just constantly build up those real convos and just be the man you are today.
Yeah, it's like I tried to, it's crazy because I went from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. Like I'm always just kind of just pivoting from one thing to the next.
Yeah.
And, you kind of pointed it out, like, just knowing that your social media is pretty much like it's like a resume, honestly.
Yeah.
Right? People come and they kind of look at, what you do, who you are, the image that you have. And if it's not something that's appealing to them, then how do you expect to have lifelong connections, right? How do you expect to have partnerships in the future, right? How do you expect to have collaborations? And believe it or not, this type of content, this type of stuff that we're doing right now, it's like, this is literally next up, right? Everybody's starting a podcast. Everybody's trying to have conversations. But what's different between mine and yours is that we're not just talking about hot topics, right? We're not just trying to find that one thing that's going to blow up overnight. We're just having real conversations, information that's very important. So yeah, I use it to kind of really, keep the fine image, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's who I am, and I know that in the future and in the long run, people are going to be able to come to that and say, hey, you know what? I don't work with that kid.
Right.
Why? Because of his image, because of what he posts, because of what he does. I go to his page. First, he's posting about, network marketing. I go to his page, then he's posting modeling. I go to his page, then he's posting podcasting. I go to his page, then he's posting GVO. So it's like, what does this kid do?
So I got a question for you, right? Even in that, you talked about like, social media lets you portray this image. But I feel like, and we're going to keep it on the generational side, but we get to paint our own image. And I like you work to get to where you are. Not that everybody doesn't, but there are some people who got more followers and a better following than me simply because of the image that they portray, but there is no substance.
Right.
Like,
and that's a tricky one because there's people who got more followers than me, you, like a lot of us that, and it's not really. And again, those be the ones that kind of get things through like that overnight clip or like depending on that one highlight that you do.
Right.
And also depends on where you are.
Right.
Right. If you're in a different location, the people that's in your environment, your circle, it's easy to get the promotions.
Right.
Right. I don't think, I'm not going to sit here and say people purchase or buy followers, but you can just kind of tell by the engagement. I'm not necessarily so enthused by the amount of people that follow you or the amount of followers that I have. I look at the engagement, right? What is the engagement like? What is the conversations like? Right? What is the consistency like?
Absolutely.
Right? You can have all of these followers and all of these likes or whatever the case may be, but how often are you posting this content.
And what are you doing with it? Like,
exactly.
You have 20,000 people liking your post. Are we just liking it because we see the physical, or are we liking it because this actually affected me?
Yeah, people don't know how to leverage,
Yeah.
What they have, right? I only have 15,000 and something followers, right? That's a lot.
Only have 15,000 followers.
That's a lot. But here's what I do, though. Like, I leverage that because there's so many people that I don't know on there. And it's like, I look at some of the followers that I have. Oh my God, look, this is somebody I can interview, right? This is somebody that does this. This is somebody that does that. So I'm not just sitting there just trying to get all these followers just to say I have followers.
You're doing
I'm doing
something.
it because it's expanding my network, right? I'm able to kind of find
network.
people that do things in every venture. So, people just kind of, they're so amused by the numbers, but that don't necessarily matter. It's just really about, what you're doing with it.
Yes.
And how it's going to benefit you and your, image, in the long run. So,
yes.
It kind of works, however you
on both sides, right?
Sides.
And when we talked about, with your social page, and I know you have, or you're a co-founder of, Good Vibes Only, the clothing brand. So we're talking about entrepreneurship. I know that you started your brand with your friends.
Right.
Like, being a group of young Black males coming together for each other to win. Like, what does that mean to you also? And then being able to showcase that. Like, when I see y'all and I go through a thread and I'm like, look at them Black men doing their thing.
Word.
I love that. So, using your platform, all of that stuff, like, what does that, mean to you to have that?
Well, it's, it means everything. And it's funny because I don't know if you talked to Sean about this or he mentioned it, but before we even got to that, like, we started a brand way that I was already a part of.
Okay.
Right. So this started like 2018. What was it? 2018, right? There was a brand that I was already a part of at home in New York. So I came to college or whatever, and I'm like, yo, Sean, I think we should do this. Boom, boom. They was all on board, whatever the case may be. That ultimately didn't work out. But it was important to me because his image was, or his vision, I should say, was a lot bigger than what I already had in my mind. You know what I'm saying? So although I initially brought the clothing brand aspect to him, the vision for what GVO was going to be was completely different than what our first brand was.
Right.
So when I heard the vision for that, it was like, there's no way I can't be a part of it.
Yeah.
So, it means everything because, the vision supersedes, any type of monetization. It supersedes, any partnership, just kind of why we doing it, and mental health and just kind of being able to kind of show people that we can express ourselves through fashion. Yeah. Right? We could kind of relate to you. We support you. Yeah. But you can still look good. You know what I'm saying? But it means everything, to kind of have people with the same mindset. That's not trying to be greedy. Right. That's not trying to, outshine the next person. Right. Right.
Working together.
Exactly. And one thing I appreciate that is about him is that, like, he's the founder, but he wants everybody that's a part of the brand to be so much a part of it as he is, right? Like, it's not Sean's.
Everybody got to eat.
Everybody got to eat, right? So, every day he in the chat, like, yo, post this, do that, do that. I shouldn't be the only one. But when you with somebody like that, you already know how far, like, you'll be. So it means everything to kind of do it with one of your closest friends. Yeah. Aside of business, he's somebody that, we grew naturally together in friendship. And when it comes to business, right, we clash heads sometimes here and there, whatever the case may be, but his vision superseded that. Yeah, and once I figured that out, it was like, I got to be a part of it. But it's fun. And it's super fun.
I saw something. I watched Babi Simone and Megan, the Know For Sure podcast.
Love the Know For Sure podcast.
Of course, love the Know For Sure podcast. And Emmanuel Hudson was on there, right? And I think he's hilarious, but I ain't never really heard him talk, right? Mm-hmm. And he said something that hit me, and I went to my friends. I started crying. I was like, y'all gotta listen to this.
Crying is crazy.
Crying is crazy, ain't it?
That
but
means
it hit me.
Hit you, and I love that.
But he said to me, he was talking to me.
That's how you know he was talking to you. Facts.
He said, he was like, I never realized how God put these people in my life, and they were all supposed to play a role to my vision. Wow. He talked about how he wanted to start making his own movies. And he had a homeboy who went to school for film. Went to school for film and did not know what he wanted to do with his life. And he's like, God is telling me, this is my videographer right here. I got a friend who graduated with a degree in PR. And I took that and I was like, Chelsea, I have to start my podcast this week. I have to start my podcast this week. And you are supposed to be on my team. There's no reason that we were producers for the TV channel other than the fact that we were supposed to be on each other's team. And so it's so
crazy.
big when I see people come together and working like to see each other win. Like I want nothing more than the people I work with, the people I showcase. Like I want to see everybody win. And that's deep. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, man.
And I can relate to that too, because it's like, even with my podcast, or even with like the clothing brand or whatever, it's like everybody that I'm around is literally my friend. But they're literally there for a specific reason. Like with the podcast, Lams, he's also my fraternity brother. He does photography, he does videography. So I was like, okay, well, why would I try to outsource when I could grow a whole foundation with like one of my closest
somebody
friends?
I trust, somebody I know,
trust.
right.
I don't got to worry about, this person, showing up and having the same vision. But that quote, that saying definitely means a lot, because even outside of friendship, like we don't got to be the closest friends, but there's people I could think about that was put in my life specifically for one or two things, right? Whether it's just like, being somebody that motivate me daily, whether it's somebody that just kind of, help me in my faith, my spirituality, right? Like it's so many different friends that I have that's there for, a specific reason. And I say that because it's like, let's say I want to talk about faith-based stuff.
Right.
I can't reach out to certain people because I'm not going to get the same value that I would get with that specific person. So even though they're not my closest friend, it's like he would still put here or she would still put there for like a reason.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely hit home, because it's like everybody that I surround myself with right now is like they're literally there to add value, to my life in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's business, personal, friendship, whatever.
And talking about adding value, one thing that I know that you are as a teacher, what grade do you teach?
I teach 5th through 8th grade special education in English.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah, I love special ed, man. I'm my babies.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And so like, what was for you to be a teacher? Because I feel like I was saying to Sean, it takes a special kind of person
to want to teach,
want to teach and to be invested. Like there are some people that go to work every day and they're like, these kids. But like y'all don't give me the vibe. Like I've never even heard you be like, yo, I just hate my job.
Yeah,
like Like it's always like, yep, went to work. I'm here. We're doing the next thing now. So like, what's the importance for you to be in the position of, beyond just social? Because we're talking about beyond the social.
Absolutely.
To impact the next gen.
Yeah, and let me start by saying this. I enjoy teaching. Right, I love it to death. Let me just say that teachers are highly underpaid. So for those of you who kind of complain, I'm with you. Right, I definitely agree. But I think the difference with me was that, teaching kind of found me. I didn't find teaching, right? So it was completely different. Okay. I didn't go out there and just try to go teach.
Right.
Aside from teaching, or before teaching, I should say, I was heavy in entrepreneurship. Yes. Right? I was doing a lot of network marketing. I wasn't really working a 9 to 5. So for about 2 years, I was literally I didn't have no 9 to 5, right? So I wasn't necessarily doing anything. But I always knew that I wanted to do more for the youth, right? I always knew that it was like, how can I kind of have some type of impact on a more consistent basis, with the youth, right? I love doing, community work. I'm always doing community service. I'm in a fraternity, so of course we're obligated to do things of that sort.
Right.
But on my own time, this is what I want to do.
Right.
Like I want to just help.
Right.
And then just kind of being in the Delaware area, it's kind of like I've seen where the disconnect was, right? There's a lack of young Black males that that's in the classroom. So luckily for me, I have a fraternity brother who's one of my old heads, who's a he's like a sub agency guy or whatever. Like he has a sub group or whatever.
Okay.
And he reached out. He was like, "Yo, Keese, I see you doing a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it a buck, bro. Like you might not get paid that. And this is what he said. You might not get paid that much, bro, but I need you to come work in the school." And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, but I'm gonna need some time to think about it, because it wasn't really what I was thinking about doing. Prayed on it or whatever the case may be, but that was my aha moment to say it's not just about the money.
Yes.
But it's like,
the
okay,
impact.
If I want to impact, it starts in the classroom.
Yes.
People are gonna remember you 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. Like, yo,
yes.
Mr. Elliott.
Yes.
Mr. Elliott, this,
yes.
that.
Yes.
So I'm like, damn, let me just go ahead and do it. So hit him up. I'm like, yo, I'll do it. He like, yo, bet I need you to start tomorrow. I'm like, all right, bet. Went in, and then once I went in, it was like, like when you think about going to teach, it's like you thinking about what the day gonna be like.
Right.
Am I gonna like the kids?
Right.
Am I gonna enjoy it? But
they gonna like you.
Exactly. It's like when I got there, the kids and the relationships that I've built, it was like, it's no better feeling than kids running up to you saying, "Good morning, Mr. Elliott," coming in your classroom to tell you all the tea,
right?
Because they trust you. They feel like they feel like they got a relationship with you,
right?
And just seeing how happy they are when they see somebody that's younger, right? Like, and I feel like that's that's different. That's what's different between our generation and theirs. Is like we have a lot more younger teachers.
Yes.
In classrooms.
Yes.
Like when I was in school, my teachers were older.
Yeah.
Like everybody's older, whatever. But now it's like we're a lot younger. You got people coming straight out of college, coming into the class, so they understand
a little more,
you.
because that's what we were touching on a little bit in the conversation I had with Sean, because it's like that personableness is real and it's raw. And like I know even like my mom, she passed, and when I found out, or I didn't know that day, but appreciate that. But I was at school, like, and I knew what was going on at home. Like I knew. Yeah. And that day that, she had breast cancer. So she just, she was going through a lot. And the day that she passed, I was having a day. Wow. And I went to the school guidance counselor, and I'm sitting there with this lady, and she's like, Nyla, I need you to tell me what's going on. And I will never forget the conversation I had with that woman, because I said, for me, it was just having a conversation that I was never able to have. Like I said out loud, I was like, I love my mom, but I can't keep seeing her struggle, and I want her to be at peace. That day, my mom passed, but I needed that conversation, and that happened at school. Wow. So I say, especially, to be an educator, to be a Black male, like, we need that. Like, for sure. I needed that comfort from somebody who talked like me, looked like me, and was able to understand, where I was coming from. So, I saw something that said that Black men who, are doing stuff in the world, they never receive their flowers until they're gone, right? So today I got you some flowers.
Oh, that's tough.
I got
this
you
is the
some
first
flowers.
time I ever got flowers
You
in my
see what
life.
I'm saying? And it's a little something you can just put it. I mean, you can even give it to your mom if you want to. It don't matter. I just want to make sure you got the flowers, because I feel like what you do is not small. From influencing media to influencing the next generation, it's not small. It's huge, actually, because you're influencing the next president, the next person who's going to create change. So, thank you for coming here and talking with us. Thank you for giving us your perspective. Y'all,
thank you.
This episode.
Shout out to her, man. Nah, hold on. Let me give her flowers. Shout out to you. Right? I met her, probably not even that long ago, but I just seen
we met at the HBCU week. I think that was the first time I met you, because I remember y'all was out there with the table.
FaceTime with Nanda.
No, because that was after.
That was after. Oh,
that was after, because I met you at the HBCU block party. I got my hoodie. That's where I got my first Good Vibes hoodie. And then you was like, "Yo, I need some interns," and I was like, "Boom, we got it." And that's where it started.
Well, shout out to you. Let me give her flowers on her show. Super dope show.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Your mom will be proud.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, she's looking down on you, man.
Oh, I appreciate that. Oh, give me a side hug from there.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yes. Oh, that was a great wrap up. Bro. Y'all, this is Keys. We talking about the real conversations that matter, and this mattered, y'all. So thank y'all for chatting with us, and we can't wait to see you